Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we have a shootout that, frankly, Cartier has earned. This is the 2019 Cartier Santos Blue Gradient Dial against the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 41. Let's talk about the Challenger, which I should mention was one of the most exciting new watches of 2018, as well as one of the most exciting new watches of 2019. For 2018, we got a new Cartier Santos de Cartier, and the Santos Large of that year lends its running gear, its brilliant bracelet, and of course its case profile to this 2019 Santos Blue. Now, like a Patek Philippe Nautilus, there is a gradient to this blue dial. It's a sunburst metallic that fades from a lovely medium cobalt blue to almost black and navy at its outer edge. No longer do we have a printed dial. Here we have applique bright polished Roman numerals, and you can see they are the stylized kind that we associate with Cartier. Attention to detail with a monotone disc to match not just the color of the dial, but the color of the dial near its outer edge. You can see the big innovation alongside the new color and the higher grade furnishings. The hands, which are loomed. The 2018 Santos de Cartier was not loomed. It is now a full-fledged sports watch. Let's throw it on the wrist and talk a little bit about how a Santos Large fits in this day and age. Well, the watch technically is a 39.5, and I always throw bare measurements out the window when you're talking about a non-round watch, but let's talk about them all the same so you have a frame of reference. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. The watch is only 9.4 millimeters thick, so easily cuffable. And then if you measure it lug to lug, and admittedly it can be a bit difficult to tell with the bracelet blending into the lugs, but this watch is 47.5 millimeters from lug to lug across the wrist. It wears well. It's not just the size of the case, but the shape of it. You can see when I rise above the wrist here, it has a curvature and a camber, a little bit like a Richard Mille, so it wraps around your wrist. And I can endorse this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeter circumference. It's the Santos Large, but that's not to say it's exceptionally large or oversized. It's nice and flat, and I really do love the way it hugs the wrist. Now, for 2018, the single standout feature of the Santos was not the bezel, which has been reprofiled with a waterfall, as you can see. We'll talk about that in a moment. And it's not the embellishments, the simulated bolts outboard, but it is the combination of the Quickswitch and the Smartlink. So you need a little bit of nails to activate Quickswitch, and I'll admit I'm a bit undergunned as I manicure myself a little bit obsessively for these videos. All the same, this system is absolutely operable with minimal nails, and I'm gonna make this work. There you go. No nails. Cut down all the way, and I'm still able to remove using the quick release system known as Quickswitch. Now, this debuted back in 2002 on the Roadster, but Cartier has advanced the state of the art, so it is now usable even if your fingernails are cut down to stubs for close-in shots. That was not possible on the Roadster. Now, the other innovation here is something called Smartlink, and Smartlink features small spring-loaded bars that retain the individual links of the bracelet. You would never imagine that this thing can be broken down using nothing but your fingernail, but in fact that is the case. You can size this bracelet using nothing but your fingernails and reassemble it. Now, because my nails are too spare to activate the Smartlink system, I'm going to demonstrate one right here. You can see that the bar is spring-loaded and it jumps out, but it's retained. You can't pull it out, so you can't lose the piece. This is great if you're giving the watch as a gift or you're sizing it after a long period of wearing it on a strap, and it does come with a strap. You can see the little spring-loaded trigger that you press in to activate and eject that retaining bar. It is a brilliant thing, and the fact that this bracelet feels as solid and all of a piece as the Rolex bracelet is a testament to just how good the machining is. You can barely see the triggers. The tolerances are outstanding. You will note that there is a double deployant clasp, and you can see it as a twin trigger double deployant. I like that functionality over the Rolex system, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but you can see that there's also a lovely Cartier interlocking C logo where the two meet. It is very solid, and it feels like it could easily have been engineered for a sports watch of twice this weight. Rolling back to the case, you can see Cartier has done a good job here with satin finished case flanks, lovely tapered lugs, and you can see that the beveling at the end of the case wraps around and actually expands a little at the edge of the lug, and that runs all the way along the mid-case. It's an artful detail. Now, for 2018, as the bezel profile changed, we no longer had the rounded off square of the past. We gained this little waterfall profile at the ends. The crown, which does feature a spinel cut to resemble a blue sapphire, is handsome, and though it's pressed down, the watch is 100 meters. Underneath the case back, you have a manufacturer caliber 1847 MC. It's basically a drop-in replacement for the old ETA 2892, right down to the same size, 25.6 millimeters in diameter, 42-hour power reserve, stop seconds, and a quick set date, automatic winding, 4 Hz beat rate, 100 meters water resistant, and it also has a soft iron inner cage like a Rolex Milgauss to afford it a degree of anti-magnetism. So this is a watch that has pretty much every refinement you'd want in your everyday. Now roll into the Rolex. This is a model whose basic family, the Datejust 41, replaced the old Datejust 2 back at Basel World in 2016. 2016 was the first year for the model, but the first year you could get it in all stainless steel, and this is the reference 126300. That was 2017, so 1 year before the redesign of the Santos. The watch is a 41, so very close in size to the non-round 39.5 of the Santos, but the watch has a little bit more of an elegant taper to it. The Oyster case is somewhere between a round case and a cushion case, and though the watch looks slender on the wrist, at 11.7 millimeters, it's a lot thicker than the Santos. Now the timepiece has two different measurements. One is lug-to-lug, and you're going to find there it is 47.5, which is spot on and a match for the Cartier, but then you have these solid end links on the Oyster bracelet, and that actually expands the span across the wrist to 51.2 millimeters. The spacing between the lugs is 21 millimeters, and you can see this is the classic Oyster bracelet. So you've got 3 links, staggered alignment, polished centers, because this is a flagship model, and you can see that there are screws fixing the removable links here. It's a little bit more conventional than the Santos, and you're going to need a screwdriver to make sizing adjustments, but you have the Easylink 5mm adjustment built in, so you've got 5mm to take in or take out. It's the equivalent of adding or removing one sizable link, and then I'm not sure if we can get a little bit closer, maybe I can show you this, but there are divots inside with little tracks to help you guide the spring bar into 3 alternative anchoring points inside the clasp. You can see one there, so you can change the anchoring point of the bracelet to make fine-tune adjustments. Now there is a lift lock system with a beak and a hook, and that means you have to pull a vertical trigger to unlock this system. It's not friction fit, you can't just pull it open. You do have to unlock it, but I still like the double fold and twin trigger system of the Cartier a little bit better. Rolling over to the case, you can see this is not the Super case. You have a screw down crown, but still 100 meters water resistant. It's identical to the Cartier in that respect. A lovely tapered set of lugs, no squared off size, handsome compound curvatures, and complex curves. The conical bezel reminding you that this is a steel Datejust 41, and though it has the same nominal size as the 2009 to 2015 Datejust 2, it has a narrower bezel and a better proportioning about its crown, its cyclops eye, and its dial. The dial is a lovely black with applique white gold crown, white gold hands, and white gold indices, and the cyclops eye does help with magnification, but I find it's not strictly necessary. However, proportionally, it does wear better on a 41mm case than on a 36 or smaller. You can see small ghosted white Arabic numerals outboard at every 5-minute station, outboard of each of the individual hour indices. Underneath the case back, Rolex manufactured caliber 3235. Now a 70-hour power reserve rather than 48. All the old tech carries over. Free sprung with a full balance bridge for shock resistance. A anti-magnetic niobium zirconium blue oxidized parachrom blue Breguet overcoil hairspring, handmade, anti-magnetic, and allowing the watch to take adjustment in 6 positions to earn what Rolex calls the Superlative Chronometer certification, which means no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per 24 hours. Remember, COSC is -4 + 6 seconds, so this goes above and beyond COSC chronometer spec. New is the Rolex Paraflex shock protection system. Previously, KIF was used. Now the shock protection, like everything else right down to the lubricants, is all in-house Rolex. It still beats away at 28.8 with stop seconds and a quick set date, but you also get the ridiculous amount of security that comes with the screw down crown versus a push down. So if I were a betting man, I would say this watch is probably a little bit more water resistant than the Santos, and Rolex gives you its exotic Chronergy escapement system, which is effectively Rolex's alternative to the coaxial system adopted by Omega, but it is a 1-for-1 chronometric blow-for-blow counter, and I believe that these watches will run just as well as the COSC and Maytaz certified coax Omegas. So what are you getting in the Cartier? Well, let's talk about the advantages of the Cartier first, because you're getting that brilliant bracelet. This is a bracelet with a PhD. Not only do you have the quick release lug system, which is awesome because the watch comes with an accessory strap, so you have both a strap and a bracelet when you buy this watch, but you also have the sizing system, which is next level. Not simply the fact that it's there, not simply the fact that it works, but that there's no additional play rigidity or feeling of ropey, marginal quality, modularity, whatever you want to call. It doesn't feel like you're wearing a set of Legos. It feels as solid as what Rolex is offering, and that in spite of the many independent, finely machined moving parts. So on that basis, incredible bracelet, an accessory strap, and a quick release lug system. Let's talk about a better value. This is a watch that sells pre-owned for about $5,000 to $5,500. If you want to buy the Rolex pre-owned, you're going to pay about $8,000 to $8,500. So you're talking about a Rolex watch that pre-owned to pre-owned is going to cost you about $3,000 more, and you can see it's that easy to replace the bracelet. It's a simple system, snap, snap. Now the watch also features no Cyclops eye, and not only is the disc monotone to match the color of the dial, but there's no magnifier, and I don't need it. Can you see that it's the first? I can. There's absolutely no need for this, and while it's a Rolex style signature, some folks will argue it's a bit busy and an eyesore. So on that front, advantage Cartier, monotone disc and no magnifier. I'll also mention that you have a thinner profile, dramatically thinner in fact. You're looking at 11.7 millimeters with the Rolex versus 9.4 millimeters with the Cartier. So the Cartier actually winds up being a bit more cuffable and more elegant on the wrist. I'll also mention that this dial is a bit more handsome to the eye, whereas the Rolex dial, though of outstanding material quality and precise construction, it looks a little bit austere and even a tad clinical. Cover up the Rolex crown and logo, and that could be a generic Swiss watch dial. There's nothing that announces the Rolex design DNA right there. Whereas with this Cartier, you know, even if you cover up the name, it's a Cartier. Add the polished numerals, the gradient, the railroad minutes and seconds center, it's just a gorgeous looking dial. I'll also mention this is the elder statesman. While I often declare in every comparison that Rolex has history and pedigree on its side, not today. This is a watch that debuted back in 2016, whereas the Santos, if you want to trace the original model made by Louis Cartier of Cartier Paris for his aviator friend Alberto Santos Dumont of Brazil, well, that watch was not just likely the first sports wristwatch, it was the first pilot's watch to be worn while operating a dirigible, because while operating a dirigible, an airship, you need both hands. You can't pull your pocket watch out of your vest, and thus you wear the watch on your wrist. So this was the first pilot's watch, and 115 years old this year. It blows the Rolex out of the water in that regard. Real history. And again, the pricing of this one, if you want to buy it new, $6,850, used $5,000 to $5,500, and this is just a better value all around than the Rolex. Unless, and this is going to be the first advantage of the Rolex, you're going to buy these watches new and only new. If you get onto a wait list for this watch, you're going to pay $7,350 for it, which is only a few $100s more than you're going to pay for the Santos. So $500 more, and you can turn around after a year and sell this watch and make a profit on it. That is simply not possible with the Cartier. I'll also mention right here, 5-year warranty versus 2-year warranty. On that front, easily advantage Rolex. They offer you exceptional precision and material quality, but not just in reputation. They back it up. They put their money where the mouth is. Tech, 70-hour power reserve versus 42. A full free-sprung balance with a full balance bridge for shock resistance, an overcoil hairspring with an anti-magnetic alloy, the watch with a screw-down crown rather than a push-down for extra margin of error. Even though they're both 100 meters, I have more confidence in this over time. And finally, COSC Plus, not just giving you a chronometer certification, but that superlative chronometer attestation backed by a warranty and a warranty claim if it doesn't run +2 -2. That's Rolex simply offering more. Dial quality. Here, we're not talking the relatively thin appliques in steel, rhodium plated, that you get on the Cartier. We're talking big applique and bold in white gold. The hands, the Rolex crown, the galvanizing of the dial base, all of it speaks to a higher level of manufacturing precision and quality, as well as higher materials costs than the admittedly better looking, at least to my eye, Cartier dial, but you're getting better materials here. Overall fit and finish is higher. The clasp quality, although I like the double deployment system and the twin triggers of the Cartier, the Rolex clasp feels more substantial, and as you can see, it's more artfully finished. It also gives you more degrees of adjustment since you have the Easylink system, but you also have those 3 divots with the traction board, so there's a lot of adjustability built in, and when wearing a watch, it has to look good and it has to feel good, and sizing is all about feeling good. So on that front, advantage Rolex. Status and stature, yes, Cartier is a posh name, and it is an imposing, historic Galactico in the world of luxury. All the same, in the world of watches specifically, Rolex stands above Cartier, and for some folks that's going to be important. Cartier is good. Rolex, in terms of status and stature and prestige, is still better. And again, if you're going to buy one new, get this one. You can wear it, sell it, and make a profit. Finally, I will also mention that although it's unlikely, the Cartier system uses proprietary straps and bracelets, whereas the Rolex system has a 21mm lug spacing, so at the end of the day, you can fit a strap if you want to, and Everest, Rubber Bee, and many others make aftermarket options. No such for the Cartier, you're going OEM. Final, the Rolex. Okay, the Rolex has better lume. Although the Santos is now loomed for 2019, you're talking loomed hands and large loomed indices. So on that basis, Rolex scores the final knock against the Cartier. All the same, my choice, I'm going with the Cartier. I just like it better. I love its history. I'm not so big into fixed-wing aviation. I'm not a huge fan of aircraft. I hate being on airliners, but I love blimps and the history of dirigibles, and this zings me on that front with the history and the heritage. This is a dial that I find more attractive in every way, more nuanced and artful than the Rolex. This is a watch that represents much better value. Used, you're going to pay about $3,000 less to get this, and you're going to pay about $500 less to get it new. So on that basis, better value if you want to buy it used. I'm also going to mention at the end of the day, this is a bracelet that is absolutely brilliant. It looks good, it feels good, it's easy to size. You get an accessory strap for free when you buy the watch, and you can easily swap between the two of them while on vacation without tools. So on the basis of all of this, this is my choice. I would rather own the Santos de Cartier 2019 Blue Dial Edition. You guys let me know which of these two stainless steel automatic all-arounders on full bracelets would you rather wear? Let's say cost no object, and if it's your own money. As you can see, the lume shot easily goes to the Rolex, but the Santos is improving.